11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's LinkedIn Live, Hour of Empower. So happy to have our two co-hosts today who have been here for months on different days, but never had the opportunity to be together. And, always looking to change it up a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting. And, truth be told, the audience is just getting bigger and more involved. And our purpose is really to serve the audience and address as many of your real-time questions or comments or even triumphs with others and help us, moderate, facilitate, and maybe bring some value in addition to it. So with that said, I see Leslie's here. Leslie's going to be here tomorrow. Leslie sure brings a lot of different experience and insights. Oh, Tara's here. Haven't seen Tara, but I'll say one thing about Tara. She is so industrious and focused on new things. I see her doing all kinds of different things. So welcome, Tara. Look forward to having you back. Aharon is here, a regular. Hello, thank you. Tara says, good to see you all this morning. Thank you, Tara. Lovely to have you. Dean's here. We're going to have Dean on the show. Dean has just got an incredible story, an incredible individual. And today's topic is home. And I think we were just talking prior to this, to what this is to most people or can be is a safe home, where you have relatives and friends who are really rooting you on no matter what the situation, no matter where you are in the situation. A little bit of help can go a long way. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, and we'll go round robin. So Sarah, why don't you bring everybody up to date? And what do you think about what we're trying to do here? And home, three things.
So I love what we're doing here. We're building community. Bring everybody up to date from, well, the last time I was with you was 2 weeks ago. I have been, I've started a meditation group locally in the community. So I'm bringing people together locally. I'm working on my podcast for more content, getting it out. I've just done another recording this morning. And like yourself, Don, I'm trying to bring people together one way or another, whether it's online or whether it's locally in the community. But I'm building a community. I'm talking to like-minded people and having conversations just like you do here. It's so important to build community. And home. Well, what is home? I mean, like you've just said, home here is a safe space for people to have conversations within your hour of empower every single day. Home, where is home? It's where the heart is. Myself and my husband had a conversation not so long ago. We've been married for 31 years. And it's like, where do you consider home? Well, we don't actually consider anywhere to be like truly home because it's wherever we are at that time. When we were in the UK, that was home. Now we're in Spain, this is home. When we move again, that will be home. It's just home is it's a personal thing to you. But also for me, home is bringing it back to me. Who am I? Home is where the heart is. Well, where is my heart? My heart is I think a little bit gypsy, a little bit soul, a little bit nomadic, and who am I? Who am I in my essence? And I talk a lot about being your true, authentic self because it's so important for your overall health. If you can't be your true self and speak what you believe to be your truth, your beliefs, your ideas, it affects your thyroid gland. So we need to understand who we are at that deep soul level and speak it. And some people will call us crazy. Other people will come to us and go, wow, your vibe, it's the same as my vibe. And, we're the same kind of people. So just come back home, come back to yourself. What do you think, Kelly?
I mean, I totally agree. And girl, if you're crazy, I'm all for being crazy. I'm in that group. So many things, right? My thought was definitely at home. My immediate reaction was to my childhood home. And this morning, what I started doing before, probably like a month and a half ago-ish, I don't know, time just seems to be going. And Andrea would be so proud, but I've been trying to make sure that I spend time getting grounded so that I feel like, something's flowing me and I'm not bringing like my last call into the next meeting or the next live or what have you. So this morning, as I was sitting out on the porch, and it's beautiful out this morning, and having my coffee, I was thinking about home and really taking it in and clearing my mind. And out came this little, and I'd love to know what you think this means, Sarah. We've seen a couple of, I don't want to say swarm. Swarm sounds scary. A group of dragonflies. And that happened before Christy and her husband left for Asia. And she looked it up, and one of the meetings had something to do with prosperity and financial security. And I was like, oh, I'm all for that. There are times, and this morning when I looked it up, what came up first was I was like from spiritual part, because I was definitely, meditating to the best of my abilities at this stage. And it said something about that you're surrounded by angels and that there's strong presence of faith around you. And I was like, oh, I love that. And not 2 seconds later did I see a freaking cardinal. And I was like, what is happening right now? Because I've always believed that when I see a cardinal, that it's my dad. And he passed a very long time ago, or someone that you love that has passed on. And I just thought, man, what are the odds of that? Mm-hmm. Right at this moment when I'm thinking of home. So then where it started taking me, because I was like, well, my childhood home, I think the reason I went there first was because that's where I was so grateful to grow up in that home, and there was so much love in it. And that's where I think what you're saying, Sarah, it is. Home is where the heart is. And I remember when my mom, after I was an adult, mind you, and living away myself, I was devastated because I had that feeling of like, oh my gosh, all my memories are going to be gone. But then you realize, of course they're not, because you carry them wherever you go. And now, even as I'm saying this, which feels kind of weird, it's leading me to, and probably because you had that show last week about family, which I loved. And then this past week was the anniversary of my uncle's passing. And my uncle was my dad's best friend. So, and then he's also a veteran Marine. And so with Memorial Day, I remember when he was diagnosed with this rare lung disease. And I was devastated in the sense of I could not speak about it without just sobbing, unstoppable and uncontrollable. And I met with this coach that I was working with in Austin, which was a great benefit of the organization I was with. I was like, gosh, I'm a hot mess. Like, I don't know why I'm having such a difficult time. Like, I can't even talk to him. Like, that's how I couldn't get words out, because of course it was going to make it real. And I said, but why is this? Like, it's so stupid. Like, this is not, I don't know what's, I'm stuck somewhere. And I won't make this long story longer, but we went through this process, and it was an exercise. So I'm giving it a very summation of it, because it was much deeper than what I'm going to make it sound. But it came up to the fact of when my dad passed, because I had a lot of death in my life. I'm like, why is this it gets more difficult almost. And it was because the word that came out during this deal was abandonment, that I felt abandoned by my father. I was like, and it made me mad when I thought that. I was like, why am I thinking abandonment? He didn't choose to leave me. But the pure definition of abandonment is when a person leaves you permanently or is permanently gone. They don't have a choice. So I'm like, okay, well, now I feel better about the word. But ultimately, I think where these dots are connecting is once I went through that process and literally took the jacket off, because it was like, man, everyone who's passed, I've attached that abandonment to. And I let it go. And then she also said something that I thought was very powerful for me. She said, well, where is he right now? And I said, he's in Dallas. She's like, how does it make you feel knowing that he's there? Or when you think about him? And I'm like, I feel joyful. Like I feel a big warm hug. She goes, well, you can't see him physically and you feel that way, right? Yeah. Well, it's going to be that way when he's not here. And it was just kind of like, I mean, it seems so obvious, but we all need those reminders. And he went home.
Yeah.
And he's never away from my home. I carry him with the example that came to mind right now. And I think because of what happened this morning. So what are your thoughts, Dawn?
Well, I think that these are really cool thoughts that everybody is sharing because they're real, they're personal, they're meaningful, and they're valuable to everybody who hears it because everybody who hears it relates to it, aligns with it, and may never get the full 100% charge you can get out of it, but can get enough to maybe start thinking about their memories and who they felt might have left them behind. Because here's one thing I'm learning about home. It's really about family, right? If you have a happy home, it's because you're around a happy family of people. Now, if you're just looking at natural family, time will continue to remove people. But if you look at family by choice, you have the ability to continue to add people. You know, I mean, it might sound strange, but when I found my wife 45 years ago, I was looking for a grandmother replacement, you know, because it occurred to me at a certain age, my grandmother's not going to be here forever. And I was so surprised to think that. And I'm like, how can I live in a world without a grandmother? And I thought about all of her qualities. And I said, I'm going to look for someone who has these qualities and never be without a grandmother. And what was so great is my grandmother and my wife got to be just the best of friends. And so if you go out with a vision of what could make you the happiest, which is, you know, knowing that people who passed on are in a better place, right? And a place you may meet and reconnect. So if you look at everything as home as timing, you're right. One other thing that comes to mind, my daughter has never lived in any house but the one she was born into.
What?
You know, because when I went to move, she bought the house.
Oh my gosh.
You know, and she has two kids who occupy the same bedrooms as my two kids. And I go there 4 times a week. It's like I never left the place. So it's almost like a Hollywood set. So before we get too far in, let's get right into who's here because that's the most important element of this. Leslie's here. Great to see you. Tara started with me 7 months ago. Has done incredibly well. Good to see you. Aaron's a recent individual. Good to see you. Dean's here. Tara's, great. Tara says, did you check out soon to be published book? Follow my page here. Well, it's in comments.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, there's too many people writing books and I'm supporting everybody. There's never enough of this. There's never enough people who can promote what we're doing here. You know, give people voices, give people value and hope in such a wonderful family. Let me run through this and then we'll turn it back to our co-host. I'd love to come back, talk about my book, help your audience build confidence. Great. Wendy's here. Wendy's a regular, nice, wonderful person. Get to know her. When an hour, schedule some time. Chris is here. Can I join the call? For sure. We need to talk. Home is where you are. Getting back to home. Chris, Randy's here. Home is where your mom is. I think that's so true too. You know, and you can have multiple homes, right? Yeah. Some people have homes in different continents and different climates. So excited by your book. Sheaf is here. Thank you so much for taking the time today on a Sunday. Jatendra's here. Good evening, everybody. Ambambola, we have got such a contingent from Nigeria, all because of our ambassador there, and Vanola. Petra's here, going by Ashley. Great to see you. She was a wonderful guest this week.
Yeah.
Dr. Nina, haven't seen you in a bit. Good morning to you all. Let me just run through. Looks like we caught up. So, what's your now thoughts, Sarah, of home?
So I'm going to come back to a few things. First of all, Kelle, what I see Dragonfly as is change. Change is coming, potentially big change. Abandonment, we tend to feel abandoned. It's a normal feeling because we feel abandoned by the people that we love. And where that comes from is that in the US and the UK the same, and several other countries, we tend to focus on our loss when people pass.
Yeah.
Whereas like here in Spain, they tend to focus on the happy memories of that person and know that they've potentially lived that long life doing what they wanted. So they celebrate death here in Spain, and they don't have that loss for themselves, maybe a little bit, but not like we have. So the other thing we need to recognize is we all come into this life with a soul contract, and our soul, when it fits into this body, knows how this life is going to live, when we're going to die, and how we're going to die. And we sign up for that. It's my belief. I share it with a few other people, but not a lot of people. So when we lose people, we don't lose people. When people pass over and they're gone from our lives, we need to remember that it was their soul's choice to live that life. But I also believe they're never really gone. They're always around us, always, and watching us and guiding us. And in reality, they can watch over us and be with us far more once they've passed over into the spirit realm than they can here in the physical realm. But it still doesn't stop us, because of the culture that we've been raised in, thinking it's our loss because we no longer physically have that connection with that person. The connection level changes. So that helps people that I work with, my clients, to understand it. And it's a change of mindset to understand that they're not here physically, but they will always, always be around spiritually. And there'll be messages as well. There'll be feathers, there'll be pennies, there'll be smells, there'll be songs that just suddenly play on the radio that'll just take you back. So that there will always be signs and symptoms. And let me come back to home, because that's the subject for today. Home. I've lived in a lot of places.
Good for you.
I've lost count. I think I got to 20 somewhere houses and then lost count. And that's just me as an adult, not including me as a child. And I think we attach ourselves to physical stuff. And at the end of the day, we need to remember it's just stuff. Even the house is just stuff. Nobody can ever take our memories away from us. So home really is where our heart and soul lie. We've always got the memories. We've often got photographs to take us back. But we do, in this physical realm, seem to attach ourselves to stuff. You know, I'd hate to lose the car. I'd hate to lose the house. Whereas the Buddhist philosophy is about letting go of attachment. Don't be attached to anything, so that when it goes, because ultimately we only borrow everything throughout our lives. And when we die, our stuff either goes to our relatives or to charity, or it's sold or it's given away. So ultimately everything is transient. And look at life through the eyes of, well, I'm just borrowing it. I'm just using it for the duration of me being in this body. This is what I call home, and this is my stuff. And when we look at life that way, it makes loss, as we call it, easier to accept. because home is inside. It's not the bricks and mortar. It's not the clothes. It's not the, you know, the car or anything. It's home is here. It's where we are. It's who we are. It comes from inside. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I love everything. Everything that you all are saying, it continues to come back. Like home is an inside job, like regardless, because if we're feeling unconnected or however you want to label it, no matter where you go, you're not going to feel at home because something's not settling right within you. And, you know, there were so many things. I think I was very interested in what you had to say. And girl, I have been making some big change. I just moved, literally finished the moving of the boxes the evening before I had a 6 a.m. flight to come to Florida for 2.5 weeks. And I, like you, I haven't moved a lot except the last 6 years. I've probably moved, I think, 5 times. And every time I've moved, I've dwindled down, dwindled down, dwindled down. And this time, for whatever reason, I was like, I'm getting rid of so much more stuff. Like, I just don't need all this junk. Like, and it's not junk, but they're just things. And it's interesting. Yeah, it's just interesting when you start in a new space and feel in it that it's like, I don't need these things. Like, somebody else could better use them. Like, I've already contacted someone to donate some of my business clothes for women that are transitioning, you know, whether it's out of prison or, you know, a domestic violence situation, what have you, financial situation, where they can go and get clothes to help the workplace or to help, you know, educate them, give them courses and such. So I'm like, I can go, my stuff can be truly a treasure to someone else that they would never be able to do. And I always thought that was a funny thing as a kid when people would have garage sales. And that was what I would always hear, like, somebody else's junk is somebody else's treasure. I'm like, that's just weird because it's still just junk. It's not, you know, that's the child in me. I have just such a different appreciation for things because they don't matter. And truly, the death of my uncle was a major transition for me in so many things, because it did allow me to get back in that place of, man, how blessed am I that I've had not just one. I mean, my father loved me and was involved in my life and was amazing. But then I also got a stepdad that loves me and is amazing and treats me like his own. And I've had an uncle that did the same and more than that. And I'm like, it is the true, and what an honor it is that I had all of these, you know, men in my life, especially that were such good role models and willing to put it out there to help support me, whatever I needed. And then that's community. And I go back to the home again. This is home. In one way or another, this show, The Hour of Empower, is a home because you come here, the basis of home is what? Feeling security, safety, and love. Well, that's exactly what this is, where you feel, and for me, it is like this internal, like I get tingles a lot of times when things are like, oh, that's great. It's because you feel that hug from something that really just touches you deeply. And I think that's what this community does for a lot of people. And, you know, thanks to you, Dawn, for making this a home for so many people and for making us feel, honestly, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know, that is so sweet. And I know how sincere you are. And I can't tell you how gratified I am that, you know, a home is built by the family that lives in it, right? If you have a home of one person, you're not building a family. You're building an organization, you know? And what I love about this is everybody gets to decorate their room in the home, right? You can all be at the same dinner table, but you can go back to your room, you know, and everybody can have the music they want. And why not have everything you have, but because of everybody coming together and sharing? And I think that's the power here is 45, 50 people come here every day and learn a little bit from a lot of people every day they love and trust. And pretty soon, I was thinking about it because I'm always trying to visualize something to understand it differently than conventional wisdom. Is let's say we have a vase. And as you put more beautiful things in the vase, all of a sudden the vase gets better, right? As the people here get better, smarter, and more aligned with where they can get the most happiness, right? A happy home is a good home. You know, when you can't wait to get home versus can't wait to get out of home, you know, there wasn't a day I couldn't wait to get home. I mean, when I did, luckily working for myself, I could do what I kind of wanted, and knowing I'll pay the ultimate price or I'll get the ultimate benefit, is I never would go to work until I got my kids to school. And my wife was home, right? And the school was only a block away, but it was just having that walk for 15, 20 minutes, holding someone's hand, wishing them a good day. And what did I lose? 20 minutes of getting to work early so I can get right into the fray. And then I made sure every night I was home for dinner, whatever it was, and I would shoo everybody out, right? It was good for me. It was good for them. I said, hey, everybody's time to eat, time to be with your family. I always promoted that, and that became a happy home where I worked. Because when people create a happy home, it's not just for themselves, it's for everybody else to help model. This is how we respect our home.
Yeah.
This is how we respect our family members. This is how we talk here. Remember around a dinner table, people would say, no, shut up. I don't want to hear. Shut up. I mean, be nice to your brother or whatever. So, and to your point, every ending is a new beginning. And when and that gives you an opportunity. Time spent with somebody is their reinvestment in you to spend it on you or who the next person in your life should be, right? Because I look at everything as a relay race. Someone gives you the baton. It's your role to run as fast as you can and make sure the next person gets to run as fast as they can. And if you have an obligation, I mean, when my mother was in hospice and we were so close, and towards the end, I had like 2 months. I was there every day before work, after work, and then after dinner. And then everybody was there all the time. And towards the end, she asked me, she said, Donnie, are you going to cry for me when I pass on? And I said, sure, not, it's natural. And she said, no, I don't want you to waste a minute. I want you to have fun, be a good father, be a good husband. That's what I want, And I said, you're still giving. This will never end. And, to your point, Sarah, I never felt she left. I saw lights flashing. I would go in her room and just sit there with her pictures, and she'd be there just like she was before.
Yep.
And when you know that, you haven't lost something.
That's right.
Right? So, Sarah?
Yeah, we don't lose anything. Everything in our life is transient, as I said earlier, and I totally believe in the spirit world. So we only lose people physically. We don't lose them on a spiritual level. They're always with us. And as you've said, life is what we make it. And when we set boundaries and prioritize, we can have that happy life. We can have that business. We can have that family. We can take care of the house and the garden and all the stuff in it. But as Kelle said as well, as we've done every time we've moved, we've got rid of more and more and more stuff, because I think when we were younger, it's almost like we were conditioned to think stuff means that we're successful, or we attach memories to it, or it's our possessions and it's our value. And we put all of this emphasis on stuff. And actually, every time we move, and I think it's an age thing as well, as we age, we understand more about life. And we keep coming back to home is this inside job, and just keep giving this stuff away, or selling it, or giving it to friends, or even throwing whatever's junk out in the trash if nobody really wants it, because it's just stuff. At the end of the day, home is within us, joy is within us. And we take that wherever we go, when we go to other people's houses, when we move our house, when we move countries. Home is still inside of us. And a lot of people are still searching outside for that home, for that happiness, for who they are. They're looking externally rather than sitting and doing that internal work and healing some of the stuff from our past and healing we've got to be people pleasers and to be accepted. Once we accept ourselves for who we are and realize that we don't really need to be accepted by others. If we are ourselves, we will attract people like ourselves to us. And the people who are unlike ourselves will kind of leave us or put distance between them and us. So in coming home to ourselves, we attract other people who've come home to themselves, and we're on that similar energetic wavelength. Does that make sense?
It does, very much so. And of course, agree.
Oh, please.
I also think it's interesting because the whole, and it's kind of weird that I'm talking about death and home, but they are, in my mind, it is obviously a thing that went with me. But that transition for me, and it was totally in mindset, because it reestablished how I view things. And the gratitude for going through that is huge for me. I lost one of my dearest friends about 1.5 years ago, and he was in the hospital for 2 weeks. And that was the 2 weeks was the biggest gift of my life. And that's how I viewed it every single day. Granted, the first week we probably was going to go to rehab, and then he would be home. And but by the second week, we knew that it wasn't good. And I just embraced every one of those moments. And we talked about like all of his memories, and he shared all of these stories and honestly, we've been friends for 25, 30 years. And I've heard a lot of his stories, but there was a few I hadn't, but they were all, guess what? Home related. They were about when he was a kid, when his parents were both still alive. And it was just like, man, and I've got goosebumps like all over, like nobody's business right now. And I thought, he's so ready to go see his family. And I love that. I'm sad that he's leaving me, but I'm grateful that he's going to be out of pain. And I know that he'll still always be with me. So the process or the experience was so much different this time with someone that's very close to me than it was the last. Well, it turned before then, but it's so beautiful when you approach it that way. And like you said, Sarah, celebrating it while they're living. And he honestly, he was like, I don't want any of you having a funeral. There will not be a funeral. I will not have a funeral service. I want you guys going to my favorite restaurant, and I want you to have a party. I want Beach Boy music to be playing. And I mean, we brought his surfboard and had it there, and all these, photos and things. And at the end of the day, and he loved Hawaiian shirts, not my jam. And I said, your death is the only way that you're getting me to wear a Hawaiian shirt. And we got the most obnoxious one that he would have loved the most. And at the end of it, we were all just, of course there was tears, but there was a lot of just joy. And I was like, he's so happy right now seeing this, like all of these people who have come together. And of course we drove to, we're like, he's looking down and he's going, man, I didn't know so many people liked me. So I think it's just a beautiful thing. And again, always mindset. It really just is. And it's one of those things, don't you wish you could go back to your younger self and be like, hey, let me tell you a few secrets, like right now.
Yeah.
Well,
ultimately, his spirit has gone home.
Yes.
He's left this plane, but he's gone home. And we all go home.
Yeah,
but
my wife.
This place, this space. And that's why I feel like it's so special, because we are all focused a lot of times on a destination and not enjoying the journey. Like, pay attention to what's around you. Like, I appreciate life probably a lot different than most. Now, granted, that did start when I was young because of my father. I thought, I've got to live. He lived, and he was a good man and lived, and he was silly. He was very in touch with his inner child and he loved his family. And I feel like I owe it to him to be of myself. And, because if I would have gone down a different path, I think like you alluded to a little bit, Sarah, everybody would have been like, oh yeah, Kelly's in the gutter. Totally understand how she got there. But it is the choice to choose joy and happiness, even when it feels like you shouldn't. Because some people would be like, well, how can you even be laughing when you've gone through something like that?
Yeah.
Well, because I feel at peace with it. Like it feels good.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts, Dawn?
Well, I think that what you're saying makes perfect sense and I like Sarah's point, is celebration of life is so much more fun than mourning someone's death. And death does seem so final. Celebration seems like you can continue to wear that shirt every year to commemorate him, and that'll bring him back. So people only leave when you forgive them, when you forget them, when you leave them behind, when you bury them. Bury is a hard thing to escape, but putting someone's picture on your wall, greeting them every day for a second or two. I mean, you've got 24 hours. And again, it relates to stuff. I mean, I had a home that had stuff on stuff. And you know what I think about now is when there was an empty wall, I felt an obligation to put something on it. So I put stuff on stuff just so it wouldn't look like old stuff. And pretty soon, it's almost like you're trying to get through the stuff. It's like, get out of my way so I could live my life. And what I discovered, the more stuff you got, the more stuff got you. Oh, and you want to get free, and, even I'm thinking when people would come over and say, I just got a brand new sports car, let me show it to you. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, now, why? It's your car. It's your dream. Why do you have to show it off? And I think that's the problem with the stuff. It's not even the stuff you want or need. It's the stuff you want to show off with. Yes. To now create another persona, which makes you so unauthentic after a while, because some people grow with stuff that they forget how really unattractive it is, because after a while, it's like too much of this already, where if you come in with nothing, you have everything around you now that becomes your stuff. You've opened up doors that now there are no walls. And I love freedom. And Sarah moving 20 times, that's an art.
I love that.
That's more than. I've lost count.
The beauty of it is you now recreate a home wherever you go, like you say. Yeah. And I'm a firm believer. Wherever you are, it's who you're with that makes that place wonderful. You can be in the worst climate in whatever, and be with the people you love. And that's what you wake up every day, hopefully, for. And I think that's why shows like this and people like this, who know it's now their responsibility to maybe reflect, re-examine, and with these words, redefine what a home is. And maybe the $1 million listing is like the 5th home on the list now of what you used to have. I had a cousin who was very, very wealthy, and he was telling about his neighborhood and everything. He was a very nice gentleman. And I said to him, Dan, to me, the wealthiest house is where the most love and laughter takes place.
Yes.
And that's the neighborhood I choose to want to live in. And, when we raised our kids, it was all middle class. I mean, nobody had nothing really. Everybody worked, and everybody felt like someone was doing something. Parents take so much away from their kids when they make sure they never have to work for anything. They make it easier. They don't even know what to do. So let me go through these real quick. We can get lost in an hour here. Allow love into your soul. I've come to believe that it's a bit larger than the heart. Petra says, we have spoken about family. Family is where you all are.
Yes, amen.
Andrea is just a beautiful person too. And she says, hi, Manuel is here. Home is where your heart loves to be. You can have multiple homes. So true. And you can move anytime you want. Home is where your heart is, I always say. Israel's, I think adventures can be great as well. Why limit yourself to anybody or anything? And I think sometimes it's dependency that you're dealing with when you lose somebody, in a sense. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Lillian, blah, blah. Okay, our hero on your screen. See if we find a juicy one. Embrace how they made us feel. They want us to continue to feel the same. I agree with Kelly. I have an obligation for the people who sacrificed for me, did so many things for me, lived so unselfishly for me, not to keep running for them, not to carry their banner. And you know, when you go forward the right way, you're taking them with you. Their sayings, their mannerisms, you don't even know it, but you've already adopted it.
Yes.
You know, and when I had to say to some people, I would always say, you'll always see what I see. You know, you've been such a big part of me, you know, that wherever I go, you go. So there is no ending here. You know, I believe the universe is a continuum, you know, and it just continues. Nothing ends, you know.
No.
And that's, if you know that, some people just get somewhere faster than you did, right? I mean, if they're going to paradise or wherever, they're going to make a spot for you, you know. Look forward to that celebration. Olu's here. Olu's just terrific. High five. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Not a problem. Had to sort through things out at Dr. Constance's event. A most blessed day to you all. Well, thank you for sharing. Andrea says synchronicity. Think of times like 444, 331. Angels are with
Get
you.
them all the time.
Ambim home is far beyond a physical building. It's a place you feel so comfortable living in, where you are at peace, you feel so loved and so safe. You know, if people ever can get to that place again that maybe people enjoyed in childhood, you never want to leave that. You know, you want to savor it, you want to celebrate it. Sometimes being home is where you want to be, not just where you go to refresh to go out again.
That's right.
You know, is spend more time with your people, with your home, with your neighbors, with your birds. You know, make it complete. Kevin, a new person I haven't seen in a while. Hey, folks, another gentleman. Let me see what we have. Here's Petra. Says we are blessed because you are a family and your show is our home. Well, you know, this is everybody's family now and everybody's home. And that's the way it should be. And it should expand, right? It should grow. You should include more people in your family who need that support. We're covering quite a bit. Your hour of empower is home, Manuel says. I feel you are like a big brother for us. Well, you know, it's therapeutic for everybody. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
When I leave this show, I'm thinking of things I would have never thought of. I would have heard experiences I would have never been access to. And people are sharing people in ways that they don't share with anybody in their life because there's nobody there who can connect with it. They'd love to share it, but either they are considered crazy, you know, and crazy to me is something one should almost aspire to.
Yes.
Because if what you're doing is for the good, if your intention is good, and if your hope for others is support and love, let me be crazy than be one of the crowd who no one sees, no one hears, and you know, you live a quiet life of desperation until it finishes. You know, and I'm always a big fan of never timing out. I would much rather wear out. You know, rather give everything than like tick, 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 and then what?
Boom.
And it is going to happen. So it's not even like a flip of a coin. Chris would like to join the call. It's true. A home is an inside job. You can go somewhere different from where you live, feel at home away from the real home. You must make wherever we are at home habitable for ourselves and other members of the family. So true. And this is universal. It's all around the world. You know, we're coming from all around the world and we're going all around the world. And this message is timeless. So how much more can you ask for? I believe they are now scheduled in advance. Absolutely, Leslie. I mean, this is getting to be a really great place every day. And, you know, Kelly can attest to it. We're getting messages and real life testimonials saying this made the difference between this and that. And how better can that be for each other? Because everybody's going to be a situation one day where it's going to be this or that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and how many people can get access? You wait till 11 a.m. Eastern time, and then, you know, we all open for each other. And I think that's what we're talking about. Home is having an open home, embracing diversity, inclusiveness, because that creates safety. You know, it's no one's business about someone else's business, right? If someone gets their own room, they should decorate it in any way they want to make them feel at home. You know, and I think that's a question. People invite you, they don't make you welcome. They don't give you all the rights and responsibilities of it. And that's what I think this is an aligned home. It's people who are, if you're not in good, this must be hard to take. You know, if you chaos and that stuff. Leslie says, I believe, okay, for sure. Am Bimbola, you're right. Community is a home. Home is what you make it, and you know, home is what you earn every day you live it. You know, nobody rides for free, and everything has to be supported by everybody in it, you know, to make it fair. So, Sarah.
Yeah, and on that point, everybody has to do a bit of something. And funnily enough, I was talking to my husband today about the way we work, and it's about we work to our strengths. So, you know, we don't have like that's a female's job and that's a male's job within the home. There's just jobs that need doing. So whoever's available will do that job within the remit of their abilities. So jobs that might need strength, sometimes like opening a weird jar that's just too much for a woman. I'll give it to my husband. But you know, we share the jobs around the home, and it's a case of if the job needs doing, whoever sees it will do it, or we'll ask for help, or we'll ask the other person to do it. There is no yours and mine job. It's a home that has jobs. So we will both just share and do whatever needs doing.
I love that. And that was, I mean, growing up, I remember because, you know, my friends would get allowance and I was always like, why don't we get allowance? Like, I want allowance. They get paid to do their chores. And my parents were like, you don't get paid to do your job in this household. That's part of your contribution to the household. Now, if I wanted to go to the movies or something and I was good, I would get money to go. So it's not like I went without, but I thought it was such a good thing to instill in me so young. And also about working. Like granted, I was babysitting at 12, and I was the neighborhood babysitter. But at 16, you had to have a job. Like you went to school and you got a part-time job. And we were generally involved in some kind of sports activity. That was, you know, just part of, I didn't change any of that. And I even had to show a spreadsheet when I was moving. I moved out after I graduated at 18 and I had to have a budget all laid out showing that I could make my payments and that I could still save some money because they were like, as soon as you walk out that door, the checkbook slams. And for those of you that don't know that, which would probably just be a youngster, which I don't think there are many, that's how we used to pay stuff. Not with all cards, actually checkbook. So, and I love those lessons because they taught me to continue to know that I needed to rely on myself. Like it taught some independence. And now that I said that, one of the other things of home, and of course, because of the weekend being Memorial Day weekend, which anyone out there that's of military or veteran or has lost a military family member, wishing you a happy Memorial Day and remembering them. And thank you all for your service. I don't have all my ball caps here, but I do have my Black Rock Company. And then I do have my America mug this morning. So, which is my home.
Well, I think we're really bringing a lot of different perspectives, insights, but more importantly, how you can benefit from your home that you build. And sometimes people inhabit somebody else's home. They buy a used home. They buy a builder's model, which is, a little bit more custom. But why not design your own home? And decide who's going to live in there with you. How are they going to live? What furniture are you going to put in to support them living there? And what are you going to do every day to entertain, to make them more enjoy everything? How silly can you be? How thoughtful? And I agree. A home is a partnership. It's where everybody agrees that we can make it better together. And isn't that wonderful? Because to everybody's point today, everybody knows you're only going to be where you are for so long, no matter whatever your choice is or not. There's a saying, you come into the world with nothing, the worst you can do is break even, right? And you can't take anything with you. So everything is temporary, everything is on loan. They say nothing's ever been invented, it's only been discovered. It's always been here. It took someone to maybe see it. And knowing that, what is something that will build a legacy of good, of value? And it's evergreen experiences, because Sarah's only going to have her experiences, and Kelly and me are only going to have my experience with my relatives, with my tragedies and my triumphs. And by sharing them, you live on through other people, through what you were able to learn, feel important enough to share, and then take the necessary steps or courage, if it is courage, to get in front of things like a LinkedIn Live, and that's where I think home is I would rather have a universal home, a spot at the table. I would rather have an international home, a spot at the table. So many people are so provincial. I know people that live around 2 miles of their home their whole life. And that's all they do is they shop in those places. I mean, that's what neighborhoods were about. You were in your neighborhood. You had a movie show, you had a bowling alley, and that was your neighborhood. And then another had theirs, and everybody had one of these and one of those. So I do know one thing: laughter and love should be the foundation of every home. If it says, give me the two things you want more than anything, I would say that, and you can put them in any position you want. I'd be more than satisfied. And that would be the foundation. If everybody moved into the home saying, here's what we need to do to keep the furnace going is love and laughter. What are we going to do to design it? Wouldn't it be cool if people design their homes like they design their careers or their businesses or their finances? Is like, now you're going to tell 3 jokes on Wednesday, and I'm going to put on a silly outfit on Thursday, and we're going to just continue to build on that. People would just say, I can't wait to get home and do some of that, because everybody else is so boring and serious and materialistic. So what's your thoughts, Sarah? I know we're going to wrap it up in a little bit. We got a little bit extra time on Sundays because I'm not as top of the hour conscious.
Well, just building on your love and laughter, actually, because funnily enough, when my husband proposed to me, we'd had a conversation about love and about relationships and about marriage, and he was kind of testing the water, and he proposed to me, and I said, I will accept your proposal, yes, but I will not divorce you. If we're going to get married, we're going to be married forever. So there's no backing out. If you want me, you want me. It's not you want me for a few years and then you get rid of me. And we agreed, and we got married 31 years ago.
So great. Congratulations.
Thank you. And but the other thing is home. We've built all of our homes together and made them our own. We've got similar tastes in some things and totally opposite tastes in other things. So, you know, we've always had discussions around the home. Like last year, we knocked 2 walls out, internal walls out of the middle of this house that we currently call home. But it was a discussion around what we were doing. And the other thing that struck me with Love and Home Together is that we've supported each other in our own healing journeys through love. And it's always been within the home that we've built together. Predominantly in this one, we've done most of our healing, but we have started doing healing in other homes. And it's about understanding what love means when we're doing healing to support that our partner in their own healing journey. And we have those conversations within our home, in our privacy, from a place of love and understanding. And it is really the heart of the home, the healing, the love, and then the laughter that follows, because, you know, we often laugh at ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
And it's how relationships work. It's why they work, because we're able to laugh at each other and ourselves. What do you think, Kelly? Because I'm aware of the time.
I know. I can't. It always goes by so dang fast. And I know I say that every time, but it does. I love that, because you're right. It's all about empathy and compassion are 2 words that I feel the world just, and love, the world just needs more of. If you approach everything like that, how wonderful it would be. Like, who cares if your partner doesn't agree with, he doesn't want to have pork chops for dinner? Like, is that worth fighting over? Like, I don't think so. Choose your battles, or choose to be joy. And I can't remember, there used to be a saying about you can get glad in the pants you got mad in, or something like that. That sounds like a dumb.
I love it.
I believe it.
What's that?
I believe it.
So I think it's beautiful. And I think it doesn't even have to just be in the home, because we are all in a home together, period. All of us. Yeah. And like, how you treat others is, of course, how you're going to get treated in return. But why wouldn't you want to treat people that way? Like, I don't know what you've been through. I don't know how you perceive things. I don't know but I'm so curious to understand. Like, be curious to understand where people are coming from. I feel like when we initially changed to having the word focus, I was sort of like, that's interesting. But now for me, it's like so much deeper. I'm like, people, pay attention. And this one is 4 letters. And there's so many different interpretations, but somehow so many things, so many of these words, they come back to the basis of community, love, support in one form or another. Like, isn't that fascinating that it always comes back to love? And then also just the fact that there are so many different interpretations, perceptions, and it's one word. Just think how a sentence or an article or audio content can be interpreted. Remember that your perception isn't always the intention of the person that is saying or using those words. And I tell you what, it just changes your life, because why are you comparing yourself to everybody else and what they're saying? I don't know. I just think that compassion and empathy and love, we're screaming it from the mountaintops. And I love that people are listening to it and are wanting to spread it, because I think we want more of it in our lives. At least I do.
Yeah, I think that you hit on so many beautiful points, because everything comes back to us, and what would you want to come back to you but love, right? And if you can develop a community that's their goal, is to be loved by loving. And I agree with you. I think one reason I've been just over the top with my marriage is I learned that if you do everything you can for the other person and they know it and they appreciate it, they're going to do everything they can for you. And that's how you're going to build together. Because I also learned is every yes will give you another yes down the road. And every no will give you another no down the road. So if someone says, can I do something? Or what do you think? And someone says no. Well, there's a blockage there. And then it's like, okay. And then you ever hear, well, remember, I want to do something, you said no, so now it's your turn almost to get into that. And what I realized is everybody's going to do whatever they have to or want to do anyways. The difference is either you'll know it before or when it happens, or you'll find out after. And the challenge with building a good foundation, it has to be on trust. Because when you lose trust, you lose conversation, right? Because when you can't trust somebody, no matter what they say, how nice they say it, how much they beg, always going to be like a cracked dish. It'll never be the same. And that's what people, and I also learned 98% of almost everything I deal with is like tomato, but everybody's got an opinion and everybody sometimes feels obligated to do it. And then because they're faced with a different opinion, now they've got a discussion when it could have been, I'm spending so much time talking about something I care so little about that someone seems to care so much about that, hey, it's almost be my pleasure, enjoy it. I'm happy you found something that's that important to you, like ketchup or something like that. The other thing that comes back to me is you have multiple homes based on layers of safety. Yeah. So what that means is when I would go out in the world, and I grew up in a challenging area, it was a different world than when I came home. The outside world could be the worst thing in the world, but when you came home and your family was there and loved you and was waiting for you, that was a different world. I was safe. I was happy. You almost wish you could have frozen in time, or be able to go back in time to see some of the family gatherings and see how people were really like be a fly on the wall. And those are things that you like. Was so important. What Sarah said, no one can take your memories. Everything that you've done is already in the books, right? You can't unring a bell. And those are the things you draw on because you have to say, how lucky was I to have so much joy, so much love from certain people? And they should be the love that takes precedence over everybody who didn't love me that much, didn't think of me that much, because they weren't worth thinking about now. But they also made you who you were. Everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die is usually what people think, And my feeling is you can have heaven on earth based on the home you build that's based on heaven, right? That's based on love, that's based on caring. How many times somebody walks into your home and you hug them really hard because you really are glad to see them. And, one day you won't see them for either because of you or them. Mm-hmm. And why didn't you get the best hug you could have when you could have? And maybe get lucky and you find yourself with a second one, Mm-hmm. And that's what I love is playing the game of building on happiness. How do you put a smile on a kid's face as fast as you can? What's it going to take? A joke, piece of candy, whatever it is. You just walk around passing things out to people, and all of a sudden, as you leave, there's a smile on their face. And now with the show like this, 1 million people could have been watching this, and it would have been the same Sarah, Kelle, Don, mm-hmm. right? It would have been the same conversation, and it can be. And what would 1 million people listening to something like this, whether it's on this show or something like it, turn things around peer to peer, day to day with each other together. And if you're looking at a home, a bachelor pad to me is probably the worst home in the world. Living by yourself in a big place by yourself with a bunch of stuff. So you can bring people over to show them all this stuff, and that's your life. So sad. So anyways, we don't want to end on sad. We want to end on happy. So final thoughts, Sarah?
As always, do everything from a place of love, and you will always come back home to yourself.
Oh, that's perfect.
Amen.
We should make a bumper sticker about that one.
For real. We have so many t-shirts that need to be made off of these shows. I'm just saying. Loved it. Always love it. Good. And I always feel so good when I leave, even better than I did when I arrived. And I hope you all do too. Just a reminder to connect with everyone who is here. We are all community here to support. I know that someone was messaging about getting on the call. We don't do like the audios where you can get on stage here. You need to schedule either a call with Don, and he will definitely schedule a Zoom call. He does. So if you're interested, please do that. And that being said, I agree with Sarah. Go out into the world, share your love. Like I always end, go out and shine so bright that others can't help but shine.
Well, thank you, Kelly. And, you know, this was the first time we had Kelly and Sarah together, and it just shows how much more
Adhesive.
Yeah, well, co-interactive it can be that something that Sarah says also ignites something in what Kelly says, which then ignites something what I say, and then the audience, and all of a sudden you take a single word like home, and you make it so expansive that everybody lived in a different home for an hour today.
Yeah.
You know, shared a wonderful dining room where everybody sat around a table. And I think if you look at home, it is about the kitchen table. You know, that was always the time when people would share their day. They would be interested in your day, you know, and then hopefully we could go out and play after that. I mean, that's what families do. They played, they lived, they laughed, they cried, they celebrated. You know, some people have homes where they have boxes of happy birthday decorations and Christmas. I mean, they just decorate one thing to the next. And that's what we should do, is we should continue to make more beautiful decorations of and with everybody. You know, how can we make you put a flower in your hair? You know, I mean, get back to Woodstock maybe. But anyways, we're getting too far and I'm dating myself. I want to thank everybody so much for making this wonderful day. I agree with Kelly. I think we need to take our hats off to the veterans who sacrifice so much for so many and get so little appreciation and recognition. You know, my dad was a wounded warrior, so, you know, I can appreciate that. And with that said, you know, live for the people who have lived for you. Build a home that's based on love and laughter, and invite as many people as you can to let them enjoy what your home has to offer. So thank you very much. Talk to everybody. Well, actually tomorrow is Leslie. I'll go over 1, 2, 3. Leslie's tomorrow. Andrea is Tuesday with a new gentleman. Don and Rita are here on Wednesday. Kelly and myself are here Thursday. So make it the best Memorial Day weekend you can. And love everybody and want to hear all your ways of how you're building your new home. Thank you so